It's a new day on the Defiant, and in a rare change of pace, we're off poking at a space wibbly. Getting a chance to do a science is a rare treat these days, as well as far less dangerous than being shot at. Well, I say less dangerous, but part of the plan is flying a mega shuttle into the middle of the wibbly so the ship and all aboard can be shrunk down in size. The combined plot armor of Dax and Bashir should make it safe enough, even with O'Brien along for the ride. Cisco's not taking any chances and will be holding the mega shuttle in a tractor beam to make sure they stick to the planned course, no matter how rough the wibbly gets. The only thing that could cause any problems now is something buggering up the tractor beam, such as, I don't know, maybe the Defiant getting attacked by Jem'Hadar. Many kabooms happen, and in the process of fighting back, the Defiant loses the tractor beam. Our mega shuttle accelerates into the wibbly, which might be the preferred option given what's happening on the Defiant. Things are getting very kaboomy indeed, and a group of Jem'Hadar teleporting over heralds Cisco losing the fight. All in all, the mega shuttle's having a better time of things. That's relative, as they're pretty banged up, but Dax thinks being alive means they must be out of the wibbly. A lot of stuff isn't working at the moment, though, meaning they can't call the Defiant. They also can't see where the bloody hell they're going, what with the shutters stuck on the windows and no sensors. We can see the Defiant's transponder, though, presumably through a system other than the phone or sensors, so off we head towards it. Seems a bit brash when there could be anything in the way, but you don't get into Starfleet by having a strong self-preservation instinct. Back on the Defiant, our guests are making themselves at home. Two of them are important, so let's break with tradition by having a rare double spin on the old Wheel of Names. If you're new here, patrons can suggest names for incidental characters, and when I've got some spare shits to give, we'll spin it. Today's double winners are Jennifer Hale by Commander Zurich, and 3PO's Silver Leg by Admiral Sam Vimes. Jennifer Hale, the Jem'Hadar First, is already declaring victory. That feels premature, thinks 3PO's Silver Leg, who's both his second and significantly more experienced, but Jennifer tells him to shut his cake hole and calls their boss to report success. The reason for the animosity, it seems, is that Jennifer is a new breed of Jem'Hadar made right here in the Alpha Quadrant, designed to replace 3PO's leg and his mates as the superior warrior. Their Vorta stokes the hostility until he gets bored of it, and Jennifer says he'll call back in an hour with a detailed report. Making that report means knowing more, though, so as Cisco's planning how to retake the ship with the others, 3PO's Silver Leg arrives to take him away. The bad news is the Defiant has stopped transmitting, which is a problem when that's what Dax was using to home in on it. The good news is that O'Brien's got the shutters working, so we can see out of the windows again. The new bad news is that the mega shuttle and everybody on it didn't return to normal size when leaving the wibbly. A lack of working phone means telling the Defiant what's happened is going to be a bit of a bugger, so O'Brien has an idea. We'll fly inside it and get someone's attention that way. Okay, that'll mean flying through a vent, but it's perfectly safe as long as the ship's stationary. While they do that, Cisco's meeting Jennifer Hale. It's a bit of an odd one, as Jennifer wouldn't even be here if Cisco hadn't got the Prophets involved when the Dominion fleet was coming through the wormhole. Their disappearance created the need for new reinforcements, hence Alpha Quadrant grown Jem'Hadar. With that piece of exposition out of the way, we move on to demanding that Cisco fix the ship. 3PO's Silver Leg says allowing Cisco to live is an error, let alone giving him free rein of engineering. Jennifer tells him to wind his bloody neck in again, and Cisco is permitted 3 other officers to help repair the ship. Looks like the Jem'Hadar have sorted Impulse on their own, as Jennifer reports as much to his Vorta. Warp speed's estimated to be only 5 hours away, so the Vorta buggers off and leaves them to it. A slight problem, impulse drive means plasma in the conduits that our tiny mega shuttle is currently flying through. A hasty exit by ramming a hatch puts them in engineering, and spotting Jem'Hadar here makes it clear that something is very wrong. We park up on a pipe so O'Brien can get a few more systems working. The repairs let them zoom in on a panel so Dax and O'Brien can figure out what Sisko and company are doing. In short, Sisko's trying to take back control of the ship by rerouting everything from the bridge down here. Making that work relies on Eggnog breaking through the security around bridge controls though, and O'Brien thinks that will take him weeks. We can help, but only if we can get to the bridge. Handy that Jennifer Hale is visiting engineering then. Sisko takes the chance to complain about 3PO's silver leg to him, blaming his interference for not having warp power back yet. The plan backfires somewhat, as although Jennifer giving 3PO's leg a bollocking means he can focus on the escape plan some more, he also now has a half-hour time limit before Kira is executed. At least the Mega Shuttle manages to scarper through the door as Jennifer's leaving. That's the only piece of good news we have, as Eggnog is still struggling with security measures, and if he can't get past them, Sisko's only backup plan is to kaboom the entire ship. Jennifer Hale stops to have a chat before going into the bridge, which means we have to hide on the ceiling and can't follow him in. Opening the door ourselves with a suitably gentle boop of the Mega Shuttle's snoot has another Jem'Hadar come to see what's going on, and we fly in through their legs. We have another problem, though. The console we need to use currently has Jennifer dicking about with it. The alternative plan involves making physical changes in the system, so after the application of tiny oxygen in the otherwise airtight computer's innards, in goes O'Brien while dragging Bashir with him. The oxygen will last for about 20 minutes, and we can't put any more in because reasons. They've also forgotten that their Mega Shuttle would have tiny environment suits in, so 20 minutes is all we've got. Maybe O'Brien didn't want an excuse to stay here any longer than necessary, as it's an absolute bloody death trap, and he prevents Bashir from frying himself while he's poking around. O'Brien may be a technical wizard, but things are very different indeed when you're standing on the components, and he eventually admits they're lost. Bashir's solution is simple. If things look weird from this angle, then don't look at them. Just identify the parts and use his memory of the schematics to direct them like a map. They're running out of air as O'Brien and Bashir find the gubbins they need to fiddle with. A little pooping yellow keeps the last cable in place, and O'Brien lets Dax know it's done. Eggnog finds out shortly after, though thinks he was responsible for engineering, now having control of the ship. Not that it matters. They've been rumbled, so Sisko and company are gathered into a group, and Jennifer Hale is less than impressed when 3PO's silver leg tells him he's discovered the warp drive was fixed about an hour ago. Jennifer's in no mood for further delays, which might be why he ignores 3PO's leg when he advises to check for sabotage. That's quite unfortunate for all concerned, as Worf set the ship to kaboom if they turn it on. Thankfully, it won't come to that, as the Mega Shuttle is back and it's done being subtle. Jennifer Hale spots it and starts pooping once he's recovered. Others follow suit, but none score a hit. The Mega Shuttle does, though, with some well-farted fireworks, and Sisko's lot decides this is as good a distraction as they'll get. Sisko fiddles with controls while Kira grabs a gun, and Worf breaks Jennifer's neck. Even Eggnog has a go in the resulting melee, which gives Kira a chance to shoot 3PO's silver leg. The rest go down one way or another, so Sisko dumps knockout gas into the rest of the ship. Sisko also tells a dying 3PO silver leg that he was right to suggest executing him, which was either a compliment or a boast, depending on how you look at it. All that's left, then, is for a tiny Mega Shuttle to take a well-earned victory lap of the room before stopping in front of Worf's confused face. We're back on DS9, and everything's returned to normal. We've even buffed out all of the damage on the Defiant's hull, which is pretty impressive considering how much there was. A comedy episode needs a comedy ending, though, which is delivered by Odo pretending that he thinks Bashir and O'Brien are a little shorter than they used to be. They rush off to the infirmary, so we'll leave Odo and Quark to bond over mocking the fears of others until the next adventure. The old shrink people until they're tiny episode, an emergency fallback idea in the same vein as body swap and time loop stories, at least one of which is generally obligatory in any science fiction or fantasy show. At least they waited 6 seasons before they wheeled it out, I suppose. If that sounds harsh, then it's not entirely without reason. This story idea was rejected multiple times by multiple bigwigs for both The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine before it finally got made here. Now, I'm not saying that the darker and more serious tone of Season 6 made those behind the scenes consider throwing literally any upbeat script they had in there as well, but I will point out that the last 5 stories have featured 3 comedies. Make of that what you will. All of which is a roundabout way of saying we've got another chicken nugget episode, and one telegraphed at the start by Kira's laughter. Ronald Moore put that in there as a deliberate indication that you shouldn't think about this one too hard. How did they re-enter the wibbly by the same path they exited, if that happened when they had no sensors? Why does engineering have a hinged hatch that apparently opens onto pure plasma? How does physics even work at all with every constituent component shrunk, or interact normally with standard-sized particles and forces? The only answer you'll get here is shut up and eat your nuggets. I can't really complain though, it's all competent enough, and I moaned last time that most comedy episodes focused on Quark, so I've not really got a leg to stand on, have I? Colm Meaney said he enjoyed this one as well, so it's difficult to be particularly bothered by another serving of processed chicken ass. Besides, we can always eat around the gristle, can't we? And to be fair, we get an absolutely fascinating idea in this one. During the story, we learn that a new variant of Jem'Hadar has been engineered in the Alpha Quadrant, presumably by Odetta and any other founder on this side of the wormhole. And that makes a fair bit of sense. Sisko convincing the Prophets to oopsie-daisy all those reinforcements put the Dominion in a precarious position, so starting up Jem'Hadar production over here is the logical conclusion. And if you're going to start a dedicated production line now that you can't just take new ones out of storage, something we've seen previously if you'll recall, then you might as well make a few tweaks here and there. It's Jennifer Hale himself who shows us the real difference between the two variants by applauding the initiative of an underling. Anything not directly ordered would have been a distinct no-no for the Gamma Quadrant lads, and we can infer a few conclusions from this. The Dominion is the main player of the Gamma Quadrant, an already established power base with no real contenders that we know of. In that arena, a fully obedient stormtrooper who does exactly what he's told is the best way to maintain the control you already have. If some happen to die as a result of that blinkered attitude, then you have the means to grow as many replacements as you need. Such a blasé attitude to their lives might even serve to reinforce the psychological impact of the Jem'Hadar, the founders essentially saying, losses are irrelevant when we can field infinity. But infinity is not something they can field in the Alpha Quadrant. That power base is 70,000 light-years away now, which means changing your approach. The individuality of Jem'Hadar, once considered a potential liability, is now a desirable trait. Gamma disobedience becomes Alpha initiative. The consequences of this are many. Animosity between Gamma and Alpha breeds is the most obvious, and perhaps an intentional one. Alpha Jennifer Hale certainly seemed very committed to proving Gamma 3PO's silver leg was inferior, and that desire to overachieve may have been a feature rather than a bug. Or perhaps it would be more accurate to say a feature and a bug, as the overconfidence of our alphas could be tied to that same trait. Believing you're better makes you inclined to dismiss those beneath you, regardless of their significant experience in this case. There is another consequence to the enhanced sense of individuality in alphas, though. When dispensing Ketracel White, Jennifer Hale cuts off one of his own men in the middle of declaring loyalty to the Founders, stating such things are unnecessary when they've proven themselves through their actions. Is the increased freedom of thought given to alphas the reason why Jennifer rejects the religious mummery surrounding the process, considering such performative recitation to be a trait of their Gamma Quadrant lessers? If so, what does this say about the strength of their faith? Vocal commitment is part of the order of things after all, so has a partial removing of their blinkers also made them able to see other things as well? This whole topic is fascinating to me. So it's a terrible shame that we won't hear a single thing about it after today. The entire concept of gammas and alphas is abandoned in future episodes, condemning the most interesting part of this entire story to never be touched upon again. We can headcanon ourselves out of that by saying the founders considered the whole experiment a failure, but it's a missed opportunity to make the Jem'Hadar a far more nuanced presence in the show, and even the writers themselves agree that not exploring the idea further was a mistake. We'll end with something we've not done for a while then. I've said before that I'm fond of little touches, minor details here and there, which could have been left out but show attention to detail by their existence. As the megashuttle's flying down a corridor behind Jennifer Hale, we pass agreeably on the wall and, in it, see the blue lights of the megashuttle's nacelles reflected. Somebody took the time to put that in for a scene where, if we're honest, we probably wouldn't have noticed had it been absent. To whoever on the production team decided they wanted to make a minor edit in just a handful of frames, I say this: a fellow pedant salutes you. End of episode.
After a full week of walking, I've got to be honest with you, I'm not entirely convinced we're making progress.
It does look very similar to where we started, doesn't it? I don't understand. I've been following directions the whole way.
Wait, what? You've been following directions for an entire week? How's that even possible?
They were nice and simple directions. The buzzards told me to just keep turning left.
Hold on, we've just been turning left every time we get to a junction?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, don't it?
That's how you get out of mazes.
We're not in a maze. We're in a city. A city with blocks. Square blocks. Square blocks where if you turn left 4 times, you just end up back where you started.
Oh. You know, now that you mention it, that does explain a lot.
Jesus Hannibal Christ. Have we been going in circles for a whole goddamned week?
Technically, no.
We've been going in squares. Oof.